In September 2021, El Salvador shocked the world by declaring Bitcoin legal tender. The small Central American nation, long overshadowed by its turbulent history, suddenly found itself at the center of a global financial experiment. It was a historic first, an audacious gamble led by President Nayib Bukele, who envisioned a future where technology could transform his country's fortunes. Critics around the world predicted disaster, warning of economic chaos, runaway inflation, and instability. Many questioned whether a nation with so many challenges could handle such a radical shift. But today, in July 2025, the narrative is shifting. The story is no longer just about risk, but about resilience and unexpected progress. El Salvador, once infamous for violence and uncertainty, is now counted among the safest countries in the Americas. Crime rates have plummeted, and a sense of hope is returning to the streets. Its economy is growing, and the predicted collapse never came. Instead, new businesses are opening, markets are bustling, and construction is everywhere. The world is watching with curiosity, even admiration. International media and tourists are flocking to see the transformation firsthand. This isn't just a story about Bitcoin. It's about transformation, about a country daring to reinvent itself in the face of doubt. Bukele's vision was to empower Salvadorans, especially the unbanked, and attract global tech investment. He wanted to give people access to tools and opportunities they'd never had before. The goal? Economic sovereignty, and a break from traditional financial constraints. For the first time, many Salvadorans could participate in the digital economy. For many, it looked like a reckless bet. For El Salvador, it was a lifeline, a chance to leap forward and redefine its future. The journey has been turbulent. Technical glitches, skepticism, and fierce debate have tested the nation's resolve. Not everyone was convinced, and challenges were everywhere. Yet the country adapted, learning from mistakes and evolving its approach. Communities came together to educate themselves and support one another. The world's attention has shifted from ridicule to respect. El Salvador is now seen as a pioneer, not a punchline. The initial dream was to make remittances cheaper and financial services accessible to all, especially for families relying on money sent from abroad. El Salvador wanted to be a haven for innovation, not just a footnote in financial history. The country is now a magnet for entrepreneurs and visionaries. The story is no longer about a single currency, but about rewriting a nation's destiny, about hope, ambition, and the courage to try something new. The gamble was never just about Bitcoin. It was about changing everything, about giving a new generation the tools to dream bigger. El Salvador is forging a new path, and the world is taking notice. The country's bold experiment is inspiring others to rethink what's possible. The next chapters promise even more surprises, as El Salvador continues to write its own story, one bold step at a time. El Salvador's Bitcoin law was born from deep economic hardship, a reality that shaped the daily lives of millions. For decades, many Salvadorans struggled to make ends meet, facing limited opportunities and a lack of access to basic financial services. The country's leaders saw a quest for independence, not just political but financial, as essential for a better future. Since 2001, El Salvador had relied entirely on the US dollar, giving up its own currency in hopes of stability. But this left the country vulnerable to decisions made in Washington, with little control over its own economic destiny. Remittances, money sent home by Salvadorans working abroad, made up over 20% of the economy. Yet, families lost hundreds of millions each year to high transfer fees and slow transactions. President Bukele saw Bitcoin and the Lightning Network as a way to revolutionize these payments, making them instant, borderless, and nearly free for everyone. The government launched the Chivo wallet, a digital app, and gave every citizen a $30 Bitcoin bonus to encourage adoption and spark curiosity. The message was clear: financial inclusion for all, using just a smartphone, no matter where you lived or how much you earned. Beyond helping families, the law was a bold move to attract global crypto investment, hoping to turn El Salvador into a hub for innovation and digital finance. El Salvador aimed to leapfrog traditional development, betting on technology to become a leader in financial innovation and create new opportunities for its people. But not everyone was convinced. Institutions like the IMF and World Bank warned of risks, volatility, crime, and financial instability, raising concerns about the country's future. Still, for El Salvador, the risk of doing nothing, of staying trapped in the old system, seemed even greater. The Bitcoin law became a declaration of independence from a global financial system that had long left Salvadorans behind. It was a calculated risk, carefully weighed and debated, not a reckless gamble. The world was watching closely, waiting to see if this bold experiment would pay off, and if El Salvador could truly change its future. While the world debated Bitcoin, El Salvador was transforming its streets. For decades, gang violence made it one of the world's most dangerous countries. Bukele's administration launched a sweeping crackdown, reclaiming neighborhoods and restoring safety. Homicide rates plummeted, from 51 per 100,000 in 2018 to just 2.4 by 2023. Businesses flourished as extortion faded and optimism returned. This newfound safety became the foundation for economic recovery and innovation. The Bitcoin experiment was only possible because of this dramatic social turnaround. Law and order came first, then bold economic reforms. The world saw two risky policies. Salvadorans saw a unified strategy for renewal. The drop in crime gave the Bitcoin project room to grow. Security and innovation became two sides of the same coin. The transformation was not just economic, it was deeply social. El Salvador's greatest victory was reclaiming its streets and its future. The world's perception began to shift. Safety made everything else possible. El Salvador's Bitcoin rollout was rocky. The Chivo wallet was plagued by glitches, frustrating users and eroding trust. Most Salvadorans were unfamiliar with Bitcoin, and skepticism was high. Volatility scared many, and daily use remained low despite government incentives. Forcing businesses to accept Bitcoin backfired, creating resentment. International pressure mounted, with the IMF warning of financial risks. Media declared the experiment a failure. Adoption lagged, and the vision seemed in jeopardy. But the government didn't give up. They realized a new approach was needed. Adaptation became the key to survival. Facing setbacks, El Salvador pivoted. In January 2024, the government made Bitcoin use voluntary, easing international and local concerns. The focus shifted from mass adoption to building a world-class innovation hub. Regulatory sandboxes allowed fintech companies to experiment safely. New laws promoted financial inclusion and a flexible legal framework. El Salvador became a destination for crypto entrepreneurs and investors. The Plan B Forum drew global attention, showcasing the country's new direction. The government quietly accumulated Bitcoin, turning early losses into significant gains as the market recovered. By late 2024, El Salvador's Bitcoin reserves had grown to over 6,000 BTC, with unrealized gains exceeding $150 million. The gamble was paying off, not as a currency for all, but as a strategic asset. The country's reputation shifted from forced adoption to innovation leadership. El Salvador found a new way to win. The world took notice. El Salvador's volcanic energy became a cornerstone of its bold new economic strategy, transforming the country's natural landscape into a source of national pride and innovation. With abundant geothermal power bubbling beneath its surface, El Salvador found itself with a unique advantage for energy-intensive industries like Bitcoin mining, which require vast amounts of electricity to operate efficiently and sustainably. The boldest vision to emerge from this energy revolution was Bitcoin City, a futuristic, tax-free metropolis designed to be powered entirely by renewable energy from the mighty Conchagua volcano, promising a new way of living and working. To fund this ambitious project, El Salvador announced the world's first volcano bonds, a $1 billion financial instrument backed by both Bitcoin and the country's geothermal infrastructure, blending traditional finance with cutting-edge technology. The concept captured the global imagination, tying national finance to digital assets and natural resources, and sparking debates about the future of money and energy. While Bitcoin City remains a long-term goal, the expansion of geothermal infrastructure for Bitcoin mining is already underway, creating jobs and attracting international attention. The Volcano Energy Partnership is turning surplus volcanic power into digital wealth, demonstrating how natural resources can be harnessed for the digital age. By exporting renewable energy through Bitcoin, El Salvador is creating a new revenue stream that could help diversify its economy and reduce reliance on traditional exports. This innovative strategy strengthens both financial sovereignty and long-term sustainability, positioning the nation as a pioneer in green finance. The fusion of geology, advanced technology, and modern finance is truly unprecedented, setting El Salvador apart on the world stage. El Salvador is leveraging its natural gifts and youthful population to build a digital future, inspiring hope and curiosity among its citizens. The world is watching this grand experiment closely, eager to see whether this small nation can truly reshape the global financial landscape. As El Salvador steps boldly into the unknown, the next phase could redefine what's possible for small nations everywhere, proving that innovation knows no borders. El Salvador's bold moves strained relations with traditional allies, especially the US, which criticized both the Bitcoin law and anti-gang tactics. The country balanced defiance with diplomacy, seeking new partners in the global tech and crypto communities. Visits from US political figures signaled shifting attitudes and potential new alliances. The IMF was a major obstacle, but El Salvador's policy pivots and economic improvements changed the conversation. The government adopted an austere budget, gaining leverage in negotiations. Investor confidence soared. Salvadoran bonds doubled in value, and credit ratings improved. S&P and Moody's upgraded the country, citing stability and growth. Investors stopped betting against El Salvador and started betting on its future. The country's transformation became undeniable. New alliances and investor optimism replaced skepticism. El Salvador proved it could chart its own course. The world's financial markets took notice. El Salvador's true victory isn't measured in Bitcoin transactions, but in the lives changed. Parks once ruled by gangs are now filled with families. Small businesses thrive without fear of extortion. The nation is now the safest in its region. A stunning turnaround. Economic growth and falling debt defied critics' predictions. The government's Bitcoin holdings became a profitable asset, not a punchline. 8% of Salvadorans now use Bitcoin for payments, a significant leap in digital finance. El Salvador is known for innovation and resilience, not just hardship. Tech conferences, investment, and national pride are on the rise. The government learned from mistakes, pivoting from mandates to fostering an ecosystem. Flexibility and pragmatism fueled success. El Salvador's quiet victory is building a stronger, safer, and more prosperous nation. The world is watching a remarkable transformation unfold. El Salvador's crypto revolution is a blueprint for national transformation. The lesson, before building a digital economy, build a safe society. The country's shift from mandate to innovation hub is a model for others. Volcano bonds and renewable-powered mining offer a new frontier in sovereign finance. El Salvador challenged global financial orthodoxy and proved small nations can chart their own path. The experiment rebranded the country and attracted new investment. By tackling violence and embracing bold technology, El Salvador rewrote its narrative. The journey isn't over, but the world now sees possibility, not just risk. El Salvador's story is one of resilience, adaptation, and hope. The world will keep watching as this remarkable story continues.